According to World Bank, the richest 10% of the global population enjoys 76% of the global wealth, whereas the remaining 24% wealth is shared by the rest 90% population. The riches have the luxuries which a common man can never think of to afford, and this acute wealth disparity induces us to make great ambitions in our life. But on this journey to ambition, we encounter a common phenomena which is failure. Failure is uncomfortable, dreary, and discouraging for most of us. We have a complicated relationship with failure, and this fear of failure dissuades us from chasing our dreams. To examine this in detail, I have brought to you a real life story as a case study. This story is about a ruler who lost his kingdom in his desperation to capture a strategic trade route. This is the story of his fall from the throne to the rags and how he rebuilt his empire from scratch to be regarded as the founder of one of the greatest and prosperous empires of medieval history. We will study his life and draw few learnings for us. The protagonist of our story is Babur. He was the founder of the Mughal Empire, which was India's largest empire at its peak in the early 18th century. But his life was not a bowl of cherries. He had to suffer several defeats before reaching that position. His story begins with his birth in 1483 in Fargana Valley of present-day Uzbekistan. He was a descendant of Timur from paternal side and that of Genghis Khan from maternal side. His father was the governor of Fargana Valley, a valley surrounded by mountains in the present-day Uzbekistan. Since there was no law of succession in the Timurid dominions, a stiff competition began for the throne of Fargana Valley when his father died unexpectedly in 1494. He was just 12 years old when he ascended to the throne, but it was not so smooth. His uncles and other relatives were plotting conspiracies to overthrow him and seize the throne. His early reign faced multiple rebellions that threatened the stability of his rule. But conclusively, he was able to stabilize his rule with the help of his maternal grandmother, who provided him with troops to suppress the rebellious forces in his kingdom. So here we get our first learning, the competition. Competition is inevitable in life. Whether you like it or not, it is there, and you can't avoid it. It is so because everyone desires to get the best. But the best is limited, and therefore potential contestants will compete for that best. In this case, the throne of Fargana was the apple of discord between Babur and his relatives who were conspiring to usurp his throne. But how did he beat that competition? He sought help from his maternal grandmother. So the learning is that cooperation beats the competition. Cooperation with other like-minded people boosts your capabilities and helps you to win over other contestants. So next time when you resolve to start something big, do consider building a good team first. A team is needed to outcompete the competitors and achieve something big. Babur's father ruled over the Fargana Valley, but he aspired to conquer the Samarkand city. But why? The reason is very simple. Samarkand was the capital of Timurid Empire, which was established by his great-great-grandfather Timur, or Tamerlane as he was called by the Persians for having a permanently injured right leg. Timur was a well-respected and adorable figure in the Turkic community for being a courageous warrior who expanded the rule of Turks across the Central Asia and India. So Samarkand held a cultural value for the Babur's family. It was a symbol of their ancestral legacy, and therefore capturing Samarkand was the common ambition of contemporary Turkic rulers. Secondly, Samarkand had economic and strategic importance. It was an important hub on the Silk Route and generated a lot of revenue from taxes. Controlling the Samarkand would have increased the economic prosperity and military power of his kingdom. Babur's father aspired for the Samarkand, but he could not achieve it because he died in an accident. After Babur's accession to the throne of Fargana, he also aspired for the Samarkand as his father. He wanted to fulfill his father's unachieved goal. Our ambitions in most cases are determined by our social background. A person from business family aspires to build a big business house, whereas a person from politician's family aspires to hold the highest political office in the country. And the same goes for all of us. The aspirations of our family, the things that they value the most, become our ambition to achieve. And why do we do this? It is simple: to gain respect from our family, our friends, our relatives, and our society at large. And our inner voice, our inner desires, all that gets sacrificed in this process. In short, we all are carrying the ambitions which are imposed by our society, and very few people derive their ambitions from their inner will, the things which they intrinsically desire. Nothing is wrong in chasing the society imposed ambition, but there is always a void of self satisfaction in that person's life. And it occurs because one never tries to explore the inner will. So, in a nutshell, while framing your ambitions, don't just be swayed by the societal pressure. Do listen to your inner voice to live a truly self-satisfied life. So, to fulfill his father's dream, he began marching towards Samarkand in the year 1497, just 3 years after his accession to the throne. He captured the Samarkand city after besieging it for the 7 months. This was a great achievement for a 15-year-old Babur to do what his father couldn't accomplish. But meanwhile, a rebellion brewed up in the Fargana, fueled by some of his nobles who wanted to wrest the throne from him, and they succeeded too. He lost Fargana to the conspirators, so he departed from Samarkand to reclaim his throne. But as he marched off, he lost Samarkand too to a rival prince. Now he was left with no territories at all, neither the Samarkand nor the Fargana. In a matter of just few weeks, Babur fell from being the ruler of a prestigious kingdom to being a noble with no territorial possession at all, wandering in the mountains of Tajikistan and living his life in exile as a destitute. It was an agonizing and a deeply humiliating experience for an ambitious prince like him. Successes reinforce our pride in ourselves, but the self-confidence weakened by a failure is much more intense than the confidence boosted by the victory. And therefore, true leaders have a great capability of managing the failures. Always remember, winners are those who don't fear the failure, because they have figured out a way for themselves to manage the failure and the consequences therewith. On the path to ambition, failure is bound to happen. It targets our mental well-being, pierces our heart, and puts us into a deeply underconfident state. It becomes even worse when we lose everything that we have. Babur had lost everything, but he didn't succumb to this depressing state and began recruiting from the hill tribes. For the next 3 years, he focused on building up the military strength of his army and expanding its numbers. And in 1501, he again made an attempt to conquer the Samarkand city. His deep obsession with Samarkand is evident from this fact that he focused on recovering it first instead of Fargana. So he laid the siege of Samarkand, and he indeed succeeded in capturing the city. But to his surprise, he was in turn besieged by his formidable rival, Muhammad Shaybani, who was the ruler of Uzbeks. The situation was so tense that he had to give his sister in marriage to Shaybani in return for his safe departure from the city along with his troops. Thus, the Samarkand city, his lifelong obsession, was lost again. Being defeated at Samarkand, he tried to reclaim Fargana, but had to taste defeat there also. He had failed again, despite strengthening his army and making serious attempts to recapture his lost territories. Failures are discouraging, but repeated failures are worse than that, because they do not just shatter your confidence, but also germinate self-doubt in your mind. We begin doubting ourselves, our capabilities, our abilities. We start believing in our incapability to achieve the goal. And most of the people quit their journey at this stage of life. Always remember, self-doubt is the biggest opponent of an ambitious person. If you have aspired for a goal at first place, it means it lies within the range of your capabilities, because one seriously aspires for a thing only when he knows that he can attain it with his serious efforts. And self-doubt kills this self-belief only. This is a watershed moment in one's journey to success, and how one deals with this self-doubt determines whether one will be successful or regretful in future. How Babur dealt with this situation will be revealed in the next video.